Oh, baby. Oh, baby. What is up, everyone? The Baltimore Ravens taking care of business. 30-23 win over the Commanders down in Washington, D.C. Honestly, felt like one of those games where there was nothing to win and everything to lose. It felt like there was this young up and coming Commanders team. If they won, it was them against the world. You know, they were supposed to step up and beat the Ravens. It kind of felt like one of those games where there was not really a great outcome or many great outcomes that could have happened for the Ravens. But I'll tell you one thing, it feels pretty damn good with how that game ended up going. We'll get into the nitty gritty, but overall 30-23. Let's start off with a question. 1 to 10, where are your vibes right now about the Baltimore Ravens? I'm sitting at about a 9.5. Listen, we sat here 4 weeks ago at 0-2. The Ravens sat here 4 weeks ago sitting at 0-2, and you were sitting there thinking, oh boy, what is going to happen with the Baltimore Ravens? Are they going to be able to turn it around? You had the heartbreaking Kansas City followed up by just devastating blown lead to Las Vegas. You weren't sure what this team was going to look like, especially after starting 0-2. You look down the stretch and you saw Dallas. Then you saw Buffalo. Then you saw Cincinnati. And then what ended up being a pretty damn good Washington Commanders team led by Jaden Daniels. So overall, feeling great about where this team is, sitting at 4-2. It looks like the Steelers are also taking care of business against Las Vegas. So they're going to remain tied for first place in the AFC North. But let's dig a little deeper. I'm going to read off the box score because I'm just going to say it. It was beautiful. Lamar Jackson, 20 for 26, 323 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The interception hitting off Mark Andrews' hands. Derrick Henry, 24 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then you have Zay Flowers, 9 receptions, 132 yards. You have Rashad Bateman, 4 receptions, 71 yards. Mark Andrews? I know that ain't who I think it is. I know that ain't Marky Mark. Yeah. Marky Mark Andrews making his name known again. 3 receptions, 66 yards, and the touchdown. You also had Isaiah Likely, 2 receptions, 27 yards. Nelson Aguilar had the 1 catch for 25 yards. It felt like this team, especially the offense, was once again humming. They weren't just on, they were humming. And I'm seeing people talk, Steve, about Zay and Bateman had themselves a day-to-day. Yeah, and we talked about this on the show, and it's something I'm going to get into probably. Hey, let's talk about it now. Steve, this is exactly what I was going to say. Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman are becoming a legit 1-2 punch that the Baltimore Ravens and Ravens fans had always hoped they'd become. The Ravens currently are using Zay Flowers as a number 1 receiver. They're getting him the ball. They're having him run routes. They're making him the lead option guy, the first read. And it's paid dividends so far. Absolute domination by Zay Flowers. We saw 9 receptions for, I think, 111 yards or something in the first half. Zay Flowers, and sometimes it wasn't that he was open. It wasn't that we talk about all the time how great of a route runner he is. It wasn't always that he was open. It was that Lamar trusted him, even in tight coverage, to go make a catch, and that's what Zay did. I think the impressive part is Zay Flowers had 9 receptions on 9 targets. 9 receptions on 9 targets. So every time Zay Flowers was targeted with a pass, it was caught. And when you look at 132 yards, averaging 14.7 yards per catch, when you threw to Zay Flowers, good things happened today. Good things happened. This team, especially offensively, we'll get into the defense in a little bit, but especially offensively, this team had one of those games that we saw it the past few weeks. We saw it in Dallas. We saw it against the Bills. We saw it against the Bengals, and they continued it today. The offense is becoming more and more multidimensional, more open. I mean, it just feels like every other play, there's someone else is making the big time play. Especially the passing game. I mean, Lamar Jackson, 20 for 26 for 323 yards. Let's just make this clear. Let me make this thing clear. Lamar Jackson is the front runner for the MVP. There is no if, ands, or but. I don't care about Kansas City's record. Their quarterback is playing like shit right now and getting bailed out for it. The guy in Kansas City is not the MVP. I know they want to say because the refs and stuff have bailed him out, and Patrick Mahomes has played like shit this year. I don't know why they're just handing him MVP frontrunner. Lamar Jackson is the MVP frontrunner right now, and I don't believe it's close. And he once again solidified it today. 20 for 26, 323 yards, add on 40 rushing yards on 11 attempts, over 360 yards total for Lamar Jackson. Just another dominant game from Lamar. And when you have a dominant game from Lamar, usually in recent years, that was enough to win. You know, you have a game like this from Lamar Jackson, and you sat there and said, okay, the Ravens had a good opportunity to win these games. Now you add in the fact that you also have Derrick Henry taking 24 carries for 132 yards. Earlier this year, we talked about against Kansas City, he got 13 total carries, and everyone was like, this is why we got the king? This is why we got Derrick Henry? No, this is why we got Derrick Henry. Because once again, for I'll say the fourth straight week, in all 4 wins, there's been one constant, and that is Derrick Henry finishing the damn ball game. We saw it in Dallas. Go ahead, gets the final. You end it in Dallas. Buffalo, he starts it in Buffalo. He ends it in Buffalo. Cincinnati last week, we saw him end it. That big run to break it open. This week, it was constant. It was the 2 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards, 15 yards. He would just pound and pound and pound and pound. And he slowly wore that defense down more and more with each run. And by the end of the game, they were done. You know, this is one of the reasons that they went out and got Derrick Henry, because when moments like this were popping up last year, the Ravens were blowing leads because they couldn't run the ball. They were kind of sitting there, and it was, okay, we're going to have to pass to get out of this. We're going to, we can't always rely on it. It was give Lamar's legs the ball. See if Lamar can get with his legs. Now the Ravens have a closer. The Ravens have a legitimate closer in the backfield who they can hand the ball to and end the game. It's as simple as that. And Ryan, I'm saying it. Zay did everything but score a touchdown today. I mean, the guy was in every single play. He was Zay had himself another day, back-to-back insane games for Zay Flowers, truly showing that he is a number one. Derrick Henry, 2 touchdowns. I mean, Derrick Henry, what else is there to say about this man right now? He is everything this team wanted and more. Remember when people said he was washed? Like, I forget. Like, in the offseason, remember when everyone in the NFL, all these fans were saying how stupid the Ravens were for paying Derrick Henry because he's some washed 30-year-old running back? If that's a washed running back, then there must be some damn studs out there. If we're looking at Derrick Henry as a washed running back, then I don't know what a good running back is. Because right now, check the stats, check everything. Derrick Henry's the best running back in the damn league. Derrick Henry is the best running back in football. And when you pair him up with who I believe Lamar Jackson is playing some of the best football of any quarterback in the league, it makes this offense borderline unstoppable. We saw it once again today. This team, once they get rolling, that's the big thing with this team, is it's all about getting rolling. And that's why the Mark Andrews I call it the Mark Andrews interception. Lamar's interception that hit Andrews a little far out, but hits Andrews in the hands, ends up being an interception on the opening drive. The reason I was so upset about that and so worried about it was because this team is a team, especially on offense, that you feel like they need to get their rhythm going for them to truly take that big step, for them to truly get the ball rolling. Once that ball's rolling, we've seen this offense take it to the house every time. 2 times today. 2 times the offense got the ball inside their own 10, once inside their own 5. Both times took it for touchdowns. You want to talk about back-breaking, demoralizing drives? I mean, the Baltimore Ravens had 2 drives today. Well, they had multiple drives, but the 2 specifically that I'm sitting here thinking about was, let me find the exact place. They had, first off, you had 10 plays, 78 yards for a touchdown, 9 plays, 93 yards for a touchdown, 8 plays, 94 yards. So that's 3 touchdown drives over 78 yards, 2 over 90 yards. Backbreaking, demoralizing. I mean, when this team is going out there and playing like this offensively, the defense didn't play great. The defense wasn't world beaters, but the defense gets the job done. The defense got enough stops to win the game, and that's all that matters. You know, we can sit here and talk about, the 4th down call, Brandon Stevens on Terry McLaurin. I still, in my honest opinion, Brandon Stevens played perfect, picture perfect coverage. It was a perfect throw, perfect coverage, perfect catch by McLaurin. It happens. My only issue is I don't know why you're allowing Terry McLaurin to be one-on-one with Brandon Stevens on an obvious 4th down, but that's a whole nother subject. The defense made enough plays to go win. They got stops when they needed. Not necessarily defense, but massive shout. They got the special teams with the little block kick, Ben Cleveland. Listen, if you had Ben Cleveland blocking a kick on your bingo card in the 2024 Baltimore Ravens, please come claim your prize. Please come claim your prize, because you saw something coming that I did not. And Steve, I hear you. Ardarius Washington's going to be thinking about that dropped interception probably for the next year at most. I mean, that was right in his hands. That is as easy as you could lay it out for someone. And they just, people are caught off guard, especially professional athletes, and they didn't see the ball because he clearly was going. He was more looking to make a play on the wide receiver. It's overthrown. An NFL corner got fooled when he does there's no catch attempt. It's just flailing of the arms. They just kind of like throw the arms out there. Yeah, Ardarius is going to think about that for a long, long time, but it happens. Defense definitely not the best hands. We've seen Nate Wiggins drop multiple. Ardarius obviously today. Marlon got that one last week, but hey, it happens. Ravens got out with a dub. So specific questions. If you got any specific questions, leave them in the chat. Obviously, this is Kevin and Zach React. We go live after every single Ravens game. We also cover Orioles news. We're going to be starting that up on Thursdays. So a little breaking news there. Each Thursday, me and Kevin will be going live to pretty much just break down the week, react to different things, talk about Orioles news that could be happening. I might start doing some college football stuff. We will see kind of what all happens there. But if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Do this after every Ravens game. Like I said, all breaking news. I think Kevin should be joining me in a little bit. Probably not going to be the longest stream right here, honestly, because it's later. Not later, it's 6:50. But some of us have been downtown at this game covering it since 8 a.m., so a little late for us. I see the Steelers scored again. That sucks. But back to the Ravens. I know I talked about kind of where feelings and vibes are for the team. I talked about how I personally feel like this team is in as good of a position as you can get, sitting at 4-2. Yeah, and I shouldn't even be talking. It's midnight there, right? I believe it's midnight or 1 a.m. So yeah, Richard, and you take the cake there. You take the cake there. Also, Steve, yeah, actually, right before I hopped on, I went and watched that play, and I feel awful for Aiden Hutchinson. If you did not watch, if you did not see the play, I'm not gonna be the one to show you. Adam Schefter and them have retweeted it. I just know your shin calf is not supposed to go that way. Usually it's supposed to stay straight and not hit things and curl around them. So if you would like to go see that, you can go with your own discretion, go watch that. But yes, very gruesome, hoping for the best. Aiden Hutchinson's such a good player. He's such a great young player for this league. So you hope a guy like that can just make his way back from this. I don't know. I'm assuming, unfortunately, his season's over. That's at least a broken leg. Unless he does a Mark Andrews-esque type thing where he kind of returns late into the playoffs, maybe something like that. But overall, that I'm no doctor, but I know your leg is not supposed to bend that way, especially your shin should not. Yeah, shin shouldn't go that way. So hoping for the best for him. Let's get a little bit in. I saw Mina Kimes tweet about this, talking about Justice Hill's pass protection. And I once again want to bring up, because Justice Hill only had 2 receiving yards, he only had 2 rushing yards today. Justice Hill is one of the most valuable assets to this offense of anyone on this team. Justice Hill will put his head in a volcano if it meant keeping Lamar Jackson clean in the pocket. I have never seen a running back so adamant in pass pro of keeping his quarterback clean. We've seen in Kansas City, he's gone one-on-one with Chris Jones. We've seen him get caught having to help on Max Crosby. Today, multiple free rushers coming up the middle, coming off the edge, and he picked up every single one. Yeah. Justice Hill has become one of the biggest assets to this Ravens offense, and it's kind of come as I don't want to call it a surprise, because he's always been such a solid role player. You know, he was never making the flashy plays, but he always got the job done. Now you see it a little bit more. You see the playmaking. We all remember the Buffalo game. I mean, the dude was just an animal against Buffalo, just completely tearing them apart. But then you see the other side of him. Buffalo, he had over 100, I think, total yards. He had like 2 touchdowns. Today, it was nothing on the stat sheet. It was 2 rushing yards, 2 receiving yards. But every single time his name was called, he got the job done. And it didn't mean just him going out there to run the ball, to catch the ball, to run routes. It was go chip this guy, take on this defender, take on this rusher. Justice Hill, I'm telling you, slowly, I'm not even going to call it slowly anymore. He is just quickly becoming one of the most important players on this offense. He's never going to get the kudos. He's never going to get the MVPs. He's never going to get the star player titles. He's a role player who shows up and gets the job done no matter what is asked to do. If it's to carry the ball 10 times, if it's to catch the ball 10 times, if it's to block for Lamar 10 times, Justice Hill is going to go out there and help this team win any single time he's asked to. So if we want to talk about guys that just have gotten the job done, Justice Hill is at the top of it. And then, same level of praise the O-line get when things go well. Yep. This is going to be one of those in Kansas City. See you in the playoffs. I hope so. I hope we get to see the Chiefs again. Would be an incredible game, especially after how the last few have ended. But when it comes to the offensive line, today was just another example. Obviously, you had a few sacks. It wasn't always the cleanest pockets, but for the most part, I got to go back to watch the game. I was at the game, so I didn't get to really see every single player. I wasn't focusing on all of that. But from my vantage point, the offensive line continued to take steps this week. They once again continued to get coercion, what's the word I'm looking for? Cohesiveness, a little cohesiveness as a unit. You just see each week this offensive line looks more and more comfortable with each other. Ronnie Stanley, especially recently, has gotten back to kind of that dominant level that he's been at. Tyler Linderbaum, about. It's the other guys. It's Rosengarten. It's Falele. It's McCary or Voorhees. These guys are continuing to step up each week and get the job done. Listen, we're not expecting all of them to be all pros. This is not going to be 5 guys all getting voted to the Pro Bowl, all being named all pros. That's not going to happen. What we're looking for is this team, for this offensive line, to be a unit together to help keep Lamar Jackson up and to help open up running lanes for Derrick Henry. And over the past 4 weeks especially, that's what they've done. This was a unit that was just ridiculed over and over the first 2 weeks. Blame was placed on them for losing in times. But yeah, I agree. I think the offensive line, you got to give them credit. They've taken steps each week that really make you feel better about kind of where they're going. And I know where we're going, and that's to a 2-man show. Little segue, bringing on old Kevin Ostreicher. Kevin, the 0-2 Ravens have messed around and found themselves at 4-2. How are we feeling?
Yeah, that was pretty good transition.
Thank you. I tried.
Pretty good transition. Now, let me check. Oh, I am on the right mic this time. That's a first.
Love it.
The
baby.
first
Love
one.
it.
Yeah, solid offensive game. Okay, defensively, definitely still some concerns, especially defending over the middle of the field.
I was going to say the way I put it was they got the stops at times they needed.
Yeah, it felt like the Commanders were the best offense in the NFL from their own 20-yard line to the Ravens' 40-yard line. But then after that, they tightened up.
Don't break.
Yeah, literally, that is literally what happened. It's literally the definition of what happened. So yeah, I talked about that over on Locked On Ravens. Did I tell you what I'm doing for 10,000 on Locked On Ravens?
No, did you hit 10,000?
No. I'm got 1,500, a little less than 1,500 away. But the first day I ever did YouTube for Locked On Ravens, because I did audio only for 2 years. I said, do you know those styrofoam pixie cups, the blue and purple design? I'm gonna buy a full-on outfit and wear that for a week straight on the show. Everything pixie cup a week straight on the show. So that was my promise the first day I did YouTube. 10,000 would be that. So they have like, and they have crazy stuff. They have like rompers and like full on sweatshirts, and sweatpants. Like it's kind of crazy. So I just wanted to, it's gonna be a time. It's gonna be a time.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. Kevin, for today, I talked about it before you got on. Ravens had Lamar throws for over 300 yards. The Ravens have a 100-yard receiver, and they have a 100-yard rusher. Kind of one of those games where you look at Lamar, 20 of 26 for over 320 yards. It just once again feels like this is the best. I feel like a broken record saying it, but it's true. It truly feels like this is the best Lamar Jackson we've seen. It's not always going to be the flashy stats. Today was flashy with the passing yards, but he's just finding different ways to win each time, and he's controlling the game unlike we've ever seen Lamar before.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of that has to do with, I think, some of the changes in philosophy we've seen from the offense and honestly the evolution of Lamar in general, where he's spreading the ball around, he's finding his guys, he is never panicked, and that he's never really been panicked before. There's been certain situations where you can tell like he's kind of thrown off, but he's a guy that never really panics. And you could tell in this game, like he was just waiting for his receivers to break open once that guy ended up, whether it was on an out route or coming back to Lamar, whenever that guy broke, that ball was either out of his arm or he was winding up to make that throw. And this offense, obviously Derrick Henry being added is a huge boost, but at the end of the day, like Lamar is playing low mistake football. Both of his interceptions this year have come off of, receivers not catching the ball. So, and in my mind, he has no interceptions this season still, but obviously the stat sheet will show it's two. But yeah, low mistake player. And then with that comes the fact that when that pass game is going, and you have to respect that. I mean, you already have to respect the run so much by stacking the box and making sure that you're defending well enough against Derrick Henry. And the offensive line, I thought, for the most part, played really well again today. And Patrick Ricard is out there making key blocks, and the tight ends are blocking on the edges again. Wide receivers are getting involved. So all of that is combined into, an offense that, in my opinion, is better than 2019's, which I never thought we would ever say. Yeah. But they're already on pace to break almost all of 2019's records with how good they've been. So it's not only the fact that you can run the ball, but obviously during his MVP year in 2019, he led the league in touchdown passes too. And that's kind of the player that we've seen over these last 5 seasons is, everybody knows the Ravens are a run first team, right? Everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. But the thing that makes Lamar so elite is his elite ability with his arm and with his legs. He's a dual threat guy, one of one. And I kind of said this on Locked On Ravens, and I'll say it here too. All these comments about, Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson and everything, these national guys are writing checks that Jaden Daniels has to cash, where it's not fair to Jaden because he's a heck of a player, and I have so much respect for him, especially after watching him today. Like he already is a player, and he's going to be one heck of a player, even if you're talking about his sophomore season and all the future years. But Lamar's Lamar for a reason. No one else is Lamar for a reason too. And that's not a slight at anybody. It's just like there is no other Lamar Jackson. And it's those tired narratives of, he can't pass and, he's a running back and all this crazy stuff that was never true in the first place. But people are so caught in their ways. This whole comparison thing is now just the next cope level of, now I can't – it's like people saying, now I can't say he's bad because he's won 2 MVPs. So let me just compare other guys to him and say that this guy's better than him. And it's just like it's that kind of coping mechanism, I feel like.
Yeah, without a doubt. And real fast, just wanted to shout out Michael saying, I love your Orioles content, but let's go, Commander. Hope you enjoyed the game today. It was a good game. Like, that was the thing. It genuinely was a good game. I think it worked out well for all sides. The Ravens get a much-needed win. I mean, it really was a must-win for the Ravens, and the fact of it would have been, if you lose that, especially to Jaden Daniels, it would have been all the narratives again. It would have been, it just would have been, everything would have been atrocious. You're sitting at 3-3. It just would have felt a lot worse than if you're the Commanders. Another great game from Jane Daniels. You saw some more from him. Obviously, not having Brian Robinson Jr., it hurt a lot. I mean, that's
big.
But I felt like for both teams, it was a pretty good game. Another guy that really stood out to me is Travis Jones. Just continues to.
Yeah.
I mean, out of UConn, he was a monster, but he is just each year he takes a different step, and it's so much fun to watch. He's such a dominant force in the middle of that defense right now.
Yeah. Coming out of UConn, everybody knew about his pass rushing ability, but I think that overshadowed his ability as a run defender too. I mean, he was elite at both at UConn, and still don't know why he fell to where he did. Obviously, I will take it. Like, thank you to the rest of the league for passing on him twice, sometimes even 3 times to get him to where Baltimore was. But I mean, this is a guy that, like, I think he's their best run defender, like by a pretty wide. And they have a lot of good run defenders, but I think he is their best run defender. He beats offensive linemen so quickly. And while he hasn't made, he hasn't had the Justin Madubuike 2023, back, with in terms of sacks with Madubuike, but, it's not like Nnamdi has done like poorly this year, but I think Travis has been their best defensive lineman. Like, I think he's been that good for them. Or I think for Nnamdi, it's like Nnamdi is like the guy that you have to go up against. And like, who he is. I think teams are still learning about Travis Jones.
Yeah.
And they're not giving him that.
You can't double both of them.
Right. And you're not giving Jones that attention. And because you're exactly right. Like Nnamdi Madubuike showed last season that, like, okay, he's going to win super hard against offensive linemen one-on-one. So you have to send more attention his way. Travis can just bulldoze you one-on-one or use a move. And I mean, the Ravens, again, 2.9 yards per carry given up in this game, are the best run defense in the league by an extremely – they're the best ground team in the league by a wide margin. Offensively, they're washing teams. Defensively, they're washing teams. Like, the biggest question for this team is the secondary in the back end and defending the middle of the field. If they can get that going, I mean, I don't know who beats this team. I mean, obviously, the AFC still runs through Kansas City. You have to give them their respect, back-to-back champs and currently undefeated. But, man, it would be tough to beat this Ravens team, obviously. And what we've said, Zach, what the people have said, the Ravens' biggest opponent is themselves.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I truly believe the only team that can beat the Baltimore Ravens is the Baltimore Ravens. If they are, like you said, if they are firing on all cylinders, especially offensively, if they take away the ground attack on defense, they're forcing you to become one-dimensional, and then they're killing you with Derrick Henry, killing you with Lamar Jackson. Oh, and now the pass game has taken that next step to that level that people around the league were hoping it wouldn't, because obviously they'd have to deal with it. But Ravens fans were hoping. I think media analysts were hoping Lamar and them could take that step in year 2 of Monken, and it looks great so far over the past few games. So completely agree. Right now it does feel like, okay, the biggest goal for the Ravens is to get out of the way of hurting the Ravens. Don't trip yourself up. Your biggest thing is just don't beat yourselves. And how are the Commanders sticking in this early? You drive down the field easy. Mark Andrews off his hands interception. You drive down the field easy. Tyler Linderbaum, of all people, snaps it off his ankle. It is one of those things where you sit there and you're like, God, if the team doesn't beat themselves, I'm not sure who does.
Yep, that's exactly it. But I do agree with Stackhouse here, and I had said this on Locked On Ravens too. But I mean, this was actually a good Harbaugh game. Like, I don't think he did anything egregious in this one. I thought all the decisions were sound. I can't really come up with a point. I mean, the mistakes were player, right? Linderbaum snapping it off his ankle. He said he'd never had something like that happen before. Called it unacceptable. Mark with the ball glancing off his hands, and there were all these plays, Zach, in the game where I'm just like, man, that's a huge point-saving play. Lamar tackling Mike Sandstro on that interception could have just, given up, not taken the hit, just let him walk into the end zone. But he tackles him, saves 4 points because they only get a field goal out of that instead of a touchdown. There were a couple of other big ones as well, but they needed every point in this game. This ended as a one-possession game, just a touchdown. So, it's Ben Cleveland saving 3 points with getting out there.
I'm sure I think I even tweeted, I said, Ben Cleveland helping out the Ravens just as we all in all the ways we expected in 2020.
Oh yeah. Hey, if you didn't have this on your bingo card, what were you doing? What were you doing?
I think it's incredible because I know, like, as a fan base, it's nice knowing that we're so bonded together that I know all at once the entire fan base went, Ben Cleveland's on field goal block? Like, it was not, everyone was like, is that Ben Cleveland on field? You just put the big guys. Put the big guys up there.
Yeah, that's my hot take. I think the Ravens started this trend. I think we're going to start to see this more often, and it is because of the Ravens. I think that more teams will train. More teams will train their big guys. Doesn't matter who they are, but they'll train their big offensive linemen. Maybe, probably more backups, right? I don't think they want to risk putting starting O linemen out there, but like backup, just big body, like 6'9", 290, 310.
Just get your hands up.
That's what you need on field goal block.
Do you think Ben Cleveland jumped? Do you think that body gets?
Yeah, you don't need to jump.
Stick a hand up in it.
You don't need to be athletic. You just have to put your hand up. Like, that's all you need. So I think that with this, we're gonna see more teams do this more often, and the Ravens can be trendsetters yet again.
Yeah, it truly is incredible. It feels like you gotta give them credit. Harbaugh is a special teams coach. It feels like they're always figuring
ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Kevin, kind of my last kind of question and takeaway from this game. What are your thoughts on the secondary? Are you still concerned? Are you feeling better?
Definitely concerned still. Again, like they had big moments in this game, like third down pass breakups, and they had that, but early downs were bad.
Yeah.
Pretty concerned about Roquan. I think this is more of a trend at this time. Like, I think he's not as in shape as he has been over the course of his career. He's having a lot of trouble covering tight ends. Zach Ertz feasted on this team in the middle of the field this past week. They tried putting everybody on him. And Ertz is a nice safety blanket guy, but they have to be better. Brandon Stevens has to turn his head to the football. We know that. That's been a thing. Some of these Ravens defensive backs don't turn their head to the ball. Baltimore actually this was a poorly officiated game in the Commanders' favor, actually, where the Commanders got hosed on a couple calls, but the Ravens have earned a game like that, to be honest. Like, they have had that happen to them for years and years and years. It was time for the Ravens to get the official whistle.
I know it.
Like, there was that Hamilton unnecessary roughness, the personal foul hit to the head of Jaden Daniels.
That was soft. That was the correct call.
On Jaden Daniels? On McLaurin, yes, it was the right call.
Yeah, I was thinking of that.
Yes, on McLaurin, yes. McLaurin, there was no head contact whatsoever.
Yeah, I was like, Kevin, I refuse for you to push.
No. That was the right call. Yes, no call on that one. Jaden Daniels, Hamilton.
Yes.
Hamilton got him with the helmet. And then there were a couple PIs that were missed. Bateman fell down and got called. The Commanders got called for PI. But the Ravens needed a game like that. Like, they deserve a game like that. So you know what? I'm not complaining or saying that, oh, well, officiators need to be fair. No, the Ravens have been screwed by officiating so many times. I'm taking this game and I'm pocketing it and saying, thank you very much. I'm going to leave now because the Ravens deserved a game like that. So yeah, secondary to me is, especially look, man, I think number one and number two in MVP conversation, because I'm not counting Joe Burrow because of the record, but it's Baker and Lamar to me. I think Baker and Lamar are 1-2 for MVP right now. And I'm calling it right now. All the discourse this week is going to be Baker's a better passer than Lamar, and Baker runs away with the MVP if he beats Lamar.
Is this 2018 offseason all over again? We're comparing Lamar and Baker.
Well, and the crazy part is the Ravens almost signed Baker as a backup for Lamar.
People forget about that last year.
And then they almost they almost signed. They almost traded for Fields this past offseason.
They wanted to trade for Fields.
They've been wanting a high end, a low level starter, high end backup for Lamar for a long time. They've been sniffing. I wouldn't be shocked if because Josh Johnson's not the long term answer there. I wouldn't be shocked if they went out there and signed one of those guys next offseason.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for someone before this.
Could be. Yeah, it could be.
Because as we get to that trade deadline, like you said, if Lamar goes down, this team's done. Like if Lamar goes down,
no
you're legitimately your only option is to go sign Ryan Tannehill and try to make something happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's literally anybody else.
Yeah, that would be it. Flacco's gone. I mean, usually I'd say go get his ass, but
that would be so poetic if he played one more year and it was Baltimore.
And
they're such stylistically different players in terms of.
It would literally be 2018 all over again, just reversed.
Just reverse. Saying go run the Joe Flacco won the read option like 10 times a game.
Let's just see what happens.
God, I love it. Oh
God. Any final thoughts on the game, Kevin? Any kind of final?
No, 4 straight wins. I know we were talking at that week 3 Cowboys game, like make or break. Cincinnati game I think gave the momentum of like, hey, we can do this thing and kind of flip the script. I know people were scared when Terry scored that touchdown on 4th down and it was 7 points and everyone's like, okay, here 4th quarter, here we go, man. What are we doing? Brandon Stevens was literally like tackling this man like in the end zone. Terry. But yeah, man, nothing but respect for Jaden Daniels and what he has, man. Like epic quarterback battle, really solid football, but Benjamin St. Juste might be the worst corner in the NFL, by the way.
What is going on with that?
It's crazy because the Commanders' run defenses came into this game graded out awfully in like every category. And while Derrick Henry had 132 yards and 2 touchdowns, I was just kind of like, they kind of stopped him a little bit in some situations. Like I thought the Commanders' run defense, for what the Ravens have gotten on the ground this season, they actually did better than what I thought, like a lot better.
Completely agree.
But the Commanders' pass defense was atrocious. Like they were a middling pass defense for the most part, and they were just getting torched by everybody. Like Flowers was torching, Andrews was torching, Bateman was torching, like everybody was doing.
This was a good confidence game.
Yeah. Shout out Rashad Bateman, man, and Mark Andrews, welcome back to the party. So
this team's getting their weapons back. I don't even want to say back, confidence in the weapons. I think Mark Andrews is definitely a confidence thing. I think today helped a lot. I think last week helped.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you're just going to see him get more and more involved. But, last thing I read off the stats right as I got on, the thing that I love to see about the offense when we're talking about the passing game is you had 6 guys with a reception. You get Zay, 9 receptions, 132 yards. Rashad, 4 for 71. Mark Andrews, 3 for 66. And then you get Isaiah Likely, obviously 2 for 27. Aguilar get the 1 for 25 and Hill the 1 for 2. But it's not just spreading the ball out in like, you have to find 100 targets. It's finding the open guy. It's not just relying on one guy. Okay, Zay's your guy in the first half. That doesn't mean he's the guy in the second half. They really relied on Bateman and Andrews, it felt like, in that second half to be those guys that they went out.
Jesus, sorry. I'm looking at I'm definitely. I mean, to me, I think that like the biggest part of this is that, remember when Peter King went to Ravens training camp last offseason and was like, the only way that you can stop Zay Flowers is you tackle him before the ball gets there. You just hold him. Like that's what's happening because Rick, I hear you, man. 100%. Yeah, they did. Right. The point, they did stack the box. And so with that, the Ravens took advantage of one-on-one opportunities. When you have Zay one-on-one, both Zays, Zay and Zay, Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers. When you have Mark one-on-one, Rashad one-on-one, those guys are all such good route runners that it doesn't really matter if you're stacking the box. If they work play action off of that, you can run a simple out route, a simple slant, a simple comebacker.
Yeah.
And they're so effective and sudden with their stops and breaks. They're smooth. Then you have to start not stacking the box. And if you decide to do that, well, welcome to the Derrick Henry show. So it's literally
also,
to take your
Kevin,
poison.
I want to just say, I love that they're doing the toss play to Derrick Henry. When they're stacking the box and you just get him outside, it's guaranteed it's either going to be 1 or 2 yards or he's taking it for like 30. Like there's no in between. Like once he's outside, if he gets a slither of hope, it's good game. Good game.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to watch him celebrate at least a first down.
Yeah, I'm looking at my fantasy teams right now, and I was given the Cowboys defense one more week before I cut them loose, and I think everybody knows.
It's time to cut them loose.
I think everybody knows what is about to happen to me. Yeah. I think I'm gonna. No, I wasn't gonna lose because -8 points for the Dallas defense today. That is
not ideal, Kevin. I'll tell you that. if we want to talk about things that aren't ideal.
Jesus, man. That was an all-time poor performance. They lost by 40?
Yeah.
They're still playing? I didn't realize they were still playing.
Yeah, dude. It's
the game's not over yet.
Cooper Rush is playing. Yeah, dude, it's bad.
Good thing I didn't start Rico Dowdle. I was thinking about it. Hey, CeeDee Lamb. You're not doing anything. Come to the Ravens.
Yeah, Yeah, this was a rough week for me fantasy-wise. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I had like Mahomes on a bye. And then funny because Bo Nix actually started with like -2 points and was at halftime with -2 points. Then he finished with like 20.
Yeah.
So I was like, nice. Yeah. Dallas defense is getting absolutely cut in every one of these leagues. I'm going to lose to a guy that has like 2 guys on injured reserve because of this.
I just realized I started a kicker who was inactive. How does a kicker become inactive?
That's really good. That's really good.
Matt Prater. When did Matt Prater become inactive?
There have been like sneaky kicker injuries this year. Honestly, for the last couple of years, where kickers are getting injured more, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, Kevin, anything else about the game?
Nah, Ravens win. Big primetime showdown with Tampa next week. So 23-1, Lamar in the NFC. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. So that's going to do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. We'll be back next week with another edition after the Ravens. Who do the Ravens even play next week? I feel like
Tampa.
Tampa. Yeah. Oh,
Tampa Monday night.
Jesus.
So
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. But that'll do it for this time. And we will be starting up our kind of weekly reacts on Thursdays this week. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more in store there and more updates to come in the Discord and on Twitter. But that'll do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. Baltimore Ravens win 30-23. As always, chewy-wees.